asked me to focus a little bit on the changing nature of the media. And really, I guess no discussion about communicating climate change would be complete without thinking a bit about how the media is changing. And there's absolutely no doubt that we're in the midst of a revolution in terms of the media landscape. What started out as a bit of a rumble about 20 years ago when the internet started is now a major tidal wave of change. Of course, the Australian media industry and industry around the world, is a global trend, is in meltdown at the moment. So, of course, that's quite an important issue for us to deal with. I think there's a couple of reasons why this is happening. I mean, obviously the internet is an important part of that, but there's also just a very changing way that young people get their information. And anybody who has a teenage child will be able to see this change firsthand. I know my teenage son gets most of his information from YouTube, which I find terribly scary. But there's a lot of social networking sites and all sorts of places, Moco and Facebook, where a lot of people actually get their fundamental information from. So what do those sites say about climate change is something that we really should be looking at. I guess the other thing, what really makes this very important for our discussion is that as the industry goes into this meltdown and kind of tries to reinvent itself into the online forum and taking on board all the other sorts of technologies that are happening, which involve mobile phones and Twitters and all sorts of things, there is, of course, changes in the media, in the journalist landscape, if you like. So, of course, we're now facing a lot of redundancies and a tendency now to replace your older investigative journalists with young journalists who perhaps don't have the experience. And this is obviously incredibly important when it comes to communicating climate change, because as we know, it's a very complex science, and anyone who is coming to it as a novice will find it extremely difficult if they don't have A, the time, or B, the experience to actually investigate each story and what other people are saying to them. One of the things that we're particularly worried about, and I know this is something that the Australian science communicators as well as the Science Media Centre is looking into and trying to quantify, is the actual reduction in the number of specialist reporters and science reporters in particular. And that's obviously a key thing when you're talking about how climate change is communicated. Of course, we've still got our golden oldies like Deb Smith from Sydney Morning Herald and Lee Gaten from The Australian. But what's kind of worrying is that as those people are replaced, there are the young science reporters coming up that they can mentor and can evolve and grow into this role. We've lost a lot of science journalists to freelance and to PR. Not to say that freelance is not a good medium, and I think in a way this is where our opportunities lie. So in terms of the opportunities that lie there for us, I mean, obviously the internet is an open slather forum, and this presents, of course, challenges as well as opportunities. I'm a very strong believer of scientists having a proactive role in embracing online and putting their messages about climate change out there. However, I think there is a bit of a danger, and that is that when scientists appear to be overzealous, then they tend to get labelled as having a vested interest. There must be a reason why the scientist is out there with a blog trying to push their message. And I actually tend to think now that we're in fact better off joining forces and having a number of different voices from the scientific community actually lending weight to each other and providing a strong message via internet, via online medium. And I think there's a lot of opportunities there. I think, if you get together a lot of those good investigative journalists who are still out there, together with the scientists, we can actually provide some very powerful online sources of information, and that overcome this issue that people have that wherever they go, they're never quite sure of the credibility. And so I think that there are some opportunities there that we should be embracing. And I'll leave it there because I know that Carmelo is going to talk a little bit about that kind of opportunity.